Oh, hi, hello, and welcome to the next part of the story. Nana's just having a cup of coffee. Well, if you remember last time, Nana, Grandad and all the gnomes was enjoying the christening. The Goblin King, however, was making a plan to go and visit Nana and Grandad's and see for himself what was happening. He sent word for Zitsy and Fowler to be found immediately, and then he called for some volunteers to go with him. Two goblins called Beck and Call, who were very nasty goblins and would do anything for money, turned up at the Goblin King's palace willing to do whatever he asked them to do, face any danger that the king wished. The Goblin King took Beck and Call with him to look at what was happening, and he decided if a cat got them, then it wouldn't cost him any money anyway. So it was these two nasty goblins who saw the party breaking up and Nana and Grandad with all the guests going back to the house. "Did you see what I saw?" whispered Beck. "What do you think was in them prams?" said Call. "I think Zitsy and Fowler was onto something," said the king. "Let's go back to the palace and see if Zitsy and Fowler has been found and we can work out a cunning plan." When they got back, Zitsy and Fowler was waiting for them, feeling very nervous because they wasn't quite sure what the king wanted. "All is forgiven," said the king with a smile. "I think you was actually onto something. There is strange goings on at that house. I have never known gnomes to go into a human house before, and if cats are there, then they have been trained to leave the gnomes alone," said the king. "Your Majesty, have you got any ideas?" said Fowler. "Your Majesty, have you got your tailor in the palace?" said Zitsy, with a cunning look on his face. "Yes, of course," said the king. "Why, what's the plan?" "Well," said Fowler, "if the cats have been trained to leave gnomes alone, then if your tailor could make some gnome costumes for us all to wear, then the cats will think we're gnomes and leave us alone too." "What a great idea," said the king. So all night the tailors stayed up and worked to finish the costumes while the goblins was working out their plan. Next morning, Grandad was up early. He hadn't worked in the garden for a few days and things were looking a bit shabby. And when he'd finished, Nana was up getting breakfast ready for the whole household. That smells nice," he said. Or as he walked into the kitchen, "Are you cooking my sausages again?" he said with a worried look on his face. Nana smiled. "Oh, you and your sausages, Grandad," she said, laughing. "What's so funny?" said Boris when he came in. "Oh, it's just Grandad," said Nana, being silly. "Sit down and have a sausage." So they all had breakfast and chatted about the twins. "The guard's wife was very busy last night," said Boris. "The twins were very excited because they were going through so many nappies at a rate of knots. The poor woman must be exhausted." "I will take her and her husband's breakfast as a treat," said Nana. When breakfast was finished, Grandad said, "We'd better make some plans about the twins and what to do to keep them safe." "Why do you think they're still in danger?" said Nana, with a worried look on her face. "We can't be too careful, and the Goblin King won't give up," said Grandad. "So I think it's best if we have some plans in place." "Have you finished out in the garden?" said Nana. "All taken care of," said Grandad. "Let's ask Boris and the King to come in and see us for a chat." Meanwhile, at the Goblin King's palace, a cunning plan was taking form. The king said he couldn't go on the raid. It would look bad if he was caught. But the other goblins knew that he was scared and he didn't really want to face the cats. Zitsy said, "We will have to wait until we get near the garden before we get changed. We don't want to be attacked by other goblins who think we're gnomes. When we get there, we can then change. Then if we split up and search all the different rooms, we will get finished and out of there before the cats realise that we're goblins. So for now, let's have some food and a few hours sleep. It's going to be a long night." The Gnome King has arrived at Nana and Grandad's house with his nose twitching. He could smell that sausage smell again, and he was hoping to get a sausage cob, but all he got was a cup of tea. He was a bit disappointed. Do you like sausages? Right, said Grandad. I still think we have to be very careful with the twins. I don't think the Goblin King is going to give up on snatching them, you know. I don't know what else we can do, said Bella, looking worried. I can send for more guards, said the king, but that will tell them we have something special to guard. So just like the goblins were doing, they were thinking up a cunning plan. Grandad got out his tools and started to alter a few things around the house, and Bella and Boris took the twins around the garden in their new prams. The guard and his wife had a rest, just in case they was needed in the night, and the king did what all kings do. Can you remember? Which was nothing much at all, except to look important. When they all came back to the kitchen, Grandad said all was completed and ready. The twins were fast asleep, and Bella and Boris was ready for their dinner. The king, well, he was nowhere to be seen. What shall we have for dinner, said Boris. It's my treat. Suddenly, the king appeared. Oh, did someone mention dinner, he said. I'm starving. Let's have sausages, said the king. We had sausage for breakfast, said Nana. Let's have something different. How about spag bol? What's that, said Boris. So Nana explained. Do you want me to help, said Nana. No, thank you, he said. How many is it for, said Boris. So they counted. With 2 guards and 2 wives, Nana and Grandad, Bella and Boris. Is there anyone else, said Grandad. Me, shouted the king. I'm starving too. We can tell, laughed Nana. You told us earlier that as well. How many times has he said he's starving now? Right, said Boris to his magic treasure chest. Spag bol it is. 2 minutes later, they were all tucking in to the most delicious meal. I could get used to this human food, said the king. We've noticed, whispered Nana, and Bella smiled. When dinner was finished, the king thanked them for dinner and said he must fly. He had some kingly things that he had to be getting on with. So Nana and the household had a relaxing afternoon in the garden. Meanwhile, at the Goblin Kingdom, all was ready for the night raid. The plan was agreed. The gold the king was going to pay was agreed, and everyone was happy. So that night, when Nana and Grandad said goodnight to the gnome family and went to bed, and Bella and Boris was not far behind them, they went all to sleep, as they had had such a busy day. When all was quiet, there was a rustling in the garden. The goblins had arrived, and they were changing into their gnome costumes. And then they began to creep into the house, fearful of the cats, but so far so good. They tried to find a way in, but all was locked up. Zitsy produced from her enormous handbag the short hope knife that can cut through anything, and with 3 quick thrusts had cut a small hole in the door, just big enough for them all to crawl through. They all knew what they had to do and very quickly searched all the rooms, but they couldn't find anything. They all met on the landing, with just one more room to search. This must be the one, whispered Fowler. We've seen no guards anywhere. What do you think? He said, turning to look at Beck and Call. Beck and Call had a look of terror on their faces. When Nitsy and Fowler looked up to where they was looking, they too were terrified, because looking back at them, high in the dark corner of the ceiling, was an angry-looking flashing red light. So what on earth was it? What on earth had frightened them so much? Oh dear, what's going to happen next? Well, if you want to see some pictures of today's story, go onto Facebook and search Watch Boris on YouTube and join the group, and you'll be able to see all the pictures, especially of the spag bol. And also there's a picture there of this flashing red light that has scared all them naughty goblins so much. So have a lovely day. See you next time. Hope you enjoyed the story. Remember, subscribe, like and share. See you later. Bye-bye.